All right, we will call this special board of directors meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. This board has a land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement that we have written and supported. It is posted on the board's website. Tonight for roll call, we have all board members present except for Keith McLean. And we also have our as staff on the Zoom with us today. We have John, our IT, George Bryan, Jeremy Galvin, Joel Heberling, Brian Krulak, and Darren Finson. And we also have Dan Pike with us as well, who we will be announcing here in just a minute. Moving on to adopting the agenda. Originally, I kind of got an agenda posted late last week in an effort to get this meeting on the books for before the holiday weekend. I did provide a revised agenda to the board, and then we posted it to the community here this morning. So I'd just like to make a motion to amend the agenda to adopt the revised agenda posted as the addendum on the website.
Second.
All those in favor? I cannot see anybody. I need to switch views.
Aye.
There we go.
Aye. Sonia, aye.
All right. I switched views. I can see everyone now. I was in big picture mode. All right. That is unanimous. Moving on. Oh, and Keith showed up here as well. So everybody is present. Moving on to announcements. Do we have any announcements? Kim?
Want to encourage those folks out there who like numbers and who are very fun and smart we are accepting applications for the finance committee. They are due by end of business day, January 12th. There's a few openings on the committee. We'd love to have you. It's always a fun time. And our wonderful accounting manager, Joel Heverling, is there with all the fun numbers. Our numbers are looking really good, so we hope that we'll see some applications for folks. Thank you.
All right. I'll just make an announcement. Obviously, we're in the middle of a large-scale snow event. We're expecting to get another. I've seen varied reports, but it looks like anywhere from 1 to 12 inches potentially. Looking like 4 to 8 is kind of what I'm seeing potentially coming here overnight into tomorrow. So the roads are obviously compact snow and ice in places. So continue to drive safe and only drive if you are comfortable and if you need to. Anybody have any other announcements? All right. We will move on to the next agenda item. So at the last board meeting, the board came out of closed session after deliberating and made the motion to allow the executive committee to negotiate a contract with the selected candidate for our general manager position. And the executives have been working on that diligently over the last week or two to try to get that taken care of. And so tonight we're here to ratify the action that the executives took of executing a contract. And I just want to kind of give a brief overview to the process that the board and the management team went through when we interviewed the candidates for the general manager position. We had 3 candidates that we interviewed. We brought them all on site. The management team toured the candidates around the community and the facilities, and then hosted an interview of each of the general manager candidates themselves. We used a similar scoring system essentially between the board and the management team, but the management team, we allowed them to come up with their own questions and ask those of the general manager, and provide their feedback and their scores on each of the candidates. And then the board in the evening after those happened during the day, met with the candidates and interviewed each of the candidates themselves as well, with their own set of questions, and went through and we compiled all the scores. And at the last meeting, that's what we did in closed session. We were discussing all of those, all that feedback and everyone's opinions. I guess I would like to start by just introducing everyone on the management team in case the community is not totally aware of who everybody is. George Bryan is our environmental services planner. He has started with us just recently. We are very happy to have him on board. He will be supporting the ACC in their duties, as well as supporting the board and the management team and some of our long-range planning and strategic planning efforts with Dan, our general manager. Brian Krulak is our director of golf, and he's in charge of the golf management side of things. And Jeremy Galvin is our golf course superintendent, and him and Brian are responsible for the day-to-day operations, with Jeremy running the turf care crews and providing all the course maintenance and upkeep, and Brian running the management side of things. Darren Finson is our maintenance manager, and he has been hard at work the last week here with the snow event with his crews. Joel Heverling is our accounting manager, and he is in charge of our finance department. And we will also be working with Dan and the management team to bring in a deputy general manager to be Dan's second in command. And that'll be a top priority here over the next month or two to get that underway. And that in conjunction with Dan Pike, who will be announced here in just a minute as our new general manager, is our management team. And we also have John, our IT administrator here, who's always with us at our Zoom meetings as well. So I thank all of you guys for showing up. I know it's been a busy week with all the snow event happening, and there's a lot going on. But we are excited to have this meeting, and this is a big moment for the board and the community. And yeah, so I would like to start by making a motion that we would like to include the management team in as well. I would move that we selected Dan Pike as the most qualified candidate to become our next general manager.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. And then as I said earlier, the last board meeting, the board authorized to execute a contract with the selected candidate, which is Dan. So I'm going to make the motion that the board ratify the action of the executives negotiating and executing a contract with Dan Pike to be Sudden Valley's next general manager.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
All right, that's unanimous. So, now that we've completed the formalities of that, I would like to introduce Dan Pike. We're very excited that he's agreed, and we've come to a contract to have him be the next general manager of Sudden Valley. Dan brings a significant amount of experience in leadership roles to the association. We believe that he has that he has the skills to help lead our community successfully and help us do some significant planning and best management practices. He has lots of experience locally and the ability to help us build some significant relationships with outside agencies to help us support the community and get some. And sorry, I'm sick, so I'm not feeling super well. My Christmas vacation has been a little off.
I think you should just let Dan take it away from here, AJ.
Yeah, but I'm going to turn the floor over to Dan, and I'll let him say a few words, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, AJ. So first of all, I want to say I'm really proud and honored to be part of this team. I think the whole process has really opened my eyes. For those who don't know, I used to live in Sudden Valley when my kids were young, and I value the community a lot. I think it's a treasure, and it was really great to get to know the board and get to know a lot of the staff as well during this whole process. I think it was a great process. It was very robust. I think everyone got a significant opportunity to have some input into the questions, and it was nice being part of those conversations with each of you. So I just want to say I'm really excited to be on board. I think Sudden Valley is a community that has tremendous potential, and you've got such an amazing amount of human potential here as well. That's stepping up to the plate in different capacities, whether as staff or as board members or community members that volunteer their time and efforts to help make Sudden Valley even better. And that's what I want to do. I want to step in, help you guys get up to the next level. I do think that there's a lot of opportunities to build partnerships that will be meaningful, both in terms of expanding possibilities for Sudden Valley, helping reduce some of the financial burden in some cases, and just helping Sudden Valley get better integrated into the larger community that's Whatcom County, where I think sometimes the county forgets about Sudden Valley, even though you're a large presence. If it was incorporated, it'd be the fourth largest city in this county, and I think there's a lot to cheer about. There's some things that could be improved, as is true of any place, and I want to both help cheer the stuff that's going great and work with you all to make things that need more work be better. And so I'm really excited to be here and really happy that this serendipitous connection happened, because it sometimes really great things happen with serendipity, and this is one. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with all of you, both not just all of you on this call, but everyone in the community, to move Sudden Valley forward to even better places going in the years ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank all of
you,
you.
Dan. So Dan's first official day on site will be on Monday the 3rd. He'll be in the office then, working with staff and the community and the board. And yeah, we've been working to bring Dan up to speed on some of the many things that have been going on with the flooding events and the snow events and some of the planning and various operational items that we're working on with the management team. So
I snuck out to Sudden Valley today, though, and I actually ran into Sam, as well as met with Darren for a little bit, and sort of got a got a sense of what's happening on the ground there. And I have to say that conditions were passable today. So I think there's been a lot of work to improve things from the snow event. So I just wanted to say thanks to all the folks that have been working really hard to help get that under control, because I know that's not easy.
All right. Well, that is the basis of the meeting and the conclusion. We wanted to get Dan introduced to the community before his first official day on site. I think at this point we can then move it over to property owner comments before we adjourn. Just a
Yeah.
short meeting.
AJ, I'm sorry. Did you want to throw it over to the management team?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I actually had planned to do that. Sorry, my brain's a bit scattered today. I was going to have the management team speak up on their interactions with Dan and the process that they went through.
You've just been clouded in serendipity, so.
I got brain fog of my head's been a balloon for the last week, basically.
You want me to jump in, AJ?
Sure, go for it, Brian.
Yeah. So I was fortunate to kind of lead the effort from staff during the interview process. And first and foremost, just want to thank the board for for allowing staff to have meaningful involvement in the hiring process. Our team of our team consisted of 5 managers. We had our own process, as AJ mentioned, that was separate from the board. We met with all 3 finalists, including a little bit of informal, casual touring time and discussion, and then also a little bit more formal interview. And from the outset, the board committed to us that they would consider our input equally with theirs. And although both groups reached the same conclusion, I do really believe that had this not been the case, the process would have been extended, signifying that our input was seriously being considered. For the team, what separated Dan from the other candidates, aside from his experience running an actual city, was his strong local connections, which we feel will be invaluable, as Dan has a lot to do, and some of the most important things and most immediate things he has to do is filling several key staffing vacancies. So we feel like his local connections will just be really helpful on that front. And on behalf of those of us that were involved in the vetting process and the entire staff, we look forward to welcoming Dan to Sudden Valley, working closely with him, and wish him nothing but success in his new role.
Well, thank you. And I want to say I did appreciate staff participating in the process as well, because, at the end of the day, it's the entire staff and the board working together that will make things a success. And so, whatever happens from here on out, it's because you already had the pieces in place, and I'm maybe another piece that's hopefully able to add some more value. But you've got some really good folks here. I enjoyed the process. I thought it was not there was nothing fluffy about it, and it helped me reconnect with some things in Sudden Valley that I'd forgotten about or hadn't known about even when I lived here. And the whole process was really informative for me, and also helped me feel like I could be confident that I was making an informed decision on my part too, because all of us need to feel good about where we're going and moving towards that together. And I feel that very much, and I very much sort of reciprocate what Brian was saying. I look very much forward to working with all of the staff and making sure that they have the tools and support they need to be successful, and that all of us work with the board collaboratively to, again, make Sudden Valley the kind of place that we all know it can be, even better than it is right now.
Yay,
Thank you, Brian.
you. Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sonia, for
Brian. Thank you,
reminding
Dan. Okay. You guys are awesome. I'm just excited to be here. So, yay.
All right. Now I'll turn it over to John for property owner comments. We have our largest gathering that we've had in some time. So
Yeah, 27 people still with us here. It's a pretty decent crowd for us. If anybody would like to jump in Zoom down at the bottom of your screen on a PC or Mac, you can hit the little raise hand feature, and I'll bring you over to the meeting. If you're on mobile, there should be the little 3 dots. You can tap that, and the same thing should be in that menu on both iOS and Android. There seems to be a question that's come through chat. I'm not sure how you'd like to address that, AJ.
I'm gonna read it right now. So sand, we did end up running out of sand during this snow event. We did manage to secure a couple truckloads here today. And I believe we are anticipating some additional trucks tomorrow as well to bring more sand in. But maybe I will let Darren provide that update if he would be so kind.
Yeah, we had basically some questions from waste management that had come about the condition of the roads. When I mentioned the shortage of the sand, the suppliers that we have available, basically mechanically not being able to deliver it, they've had shortages in virtually every area. I was fortunate enough to get the email of the owner of Cowden Sand and Gravel, and was able to basically explain the situation. And he was kind enough to say that depending on the weather tomorrow morning, getting it to us in a large enough quantity to where it will make a significant difference. So hopefully, if the sand isn't as deep as it has been, we should be getting a large supply of sand tomorrow. So kudos to Brent Cowden. He was very nice about the entire situation.
You know, and can I jump in since you said that? The other thing, everybody knows Baby Plow and knows him and loves him. And so he also today ran 2 loads with his own dump truck from a personal supply from a friend of his. So that kind of got us through today. But yeah, like Darren was saying, these trucks cannot run. These the low temperatures. That they just will not run in this temperature. The DOT isn't receiving deliveries. It's not just us. It's the entire county. It's kind of struggling with this. But yeah, we're fortunate, as Darren said. These relationships kind of have gotten us through. And thanks to the whole crew, because those guys, I don't know if everybody really realizes, but they've been working every day since Christmas. 8 and 12-hour days. So, and we've got more snow coming tonight. So thanks, Darren, and everybody that's been working so hard.
Yeah, the guys have been doing a really good job trying to keep after it as much as possible with the equipment that we have. The Christmas holiday made it a bit more difficult, and but thanks to Jeremy also and a couple of the turf care guys that have been back since Christmas, it's been a huge help getting relief and making sure that we can, once we get the sand situation under control, it will be much easier to get everything else under control.
I think you're muted there, AJ.
We have a question of how much sand did we have prior to the snowstorm? I believe we did get a load prior to the snowstorm, but I can't speak to the quantities.
The total, we had 3 truck and transfers. I believe it was close to 30 yards. The difference between some of the snow events that we've experienced earlier this year versus this one quite significantly was the temperatures. The volume of snow was greater this particular time. February was the last large snow event we had. temperatures rose drastically. And in this situation, temperatures dropped drastically. A number of the de-icers that we have weren't effective because of that. The amount of snow that we got, the ability to keep up with it, with the staffing restrictions that we had at the time, made it difficult to make it effective. So with the temperature drops, it was the biggest key that made the difference.
And staffing restriction being because of the holiday vacation, not because
The holiday
short.
weekend. The holiday weekend did have an impact, yes, but the amount of snow and the extreme temperature drop afterwards, that really hindered a lot of the efforts we were able to make.
It's not just Sudden Valley either. I just came in from Bellingham. I mean, if you take Lake Watkin Boulevard, even with all of its traffic, it's still pretty snowy in places where I kept my vehicle in four-wheel drive just for most of it, just to be safe. So it's not just Sudden Valley. Everybody's struggling because we just don't normally have this kind of weather.
Very true. It was not just us. The county has shortages with plows, personnel, and with the lower temperatures, it has affected literally every area because of the inability to deliver. The machinery doesn't like sub-zero temperatures and wind chills down into the negative numbers. It makes it very difficult.
I think we got one hand. Move her over, and then I'll go back to the chat. Just
Okay.
Rotate.
Sounds good. Gail, I'm going to go ahead and bring you over to the meeting here. You are free to unmute when you're ready.
Thanks very much. Well, I wanted to welcome Dan Pike. I'm sure I speak for the bulk of the community. We are so happy to have someone here to take some of the load off the board. And I also want to thank the board. Having been a board member in the distant past, I know how much time people put in, and the past month, I'd say, would have been like just the triple threat. I mean, everything happened at once, and you guys had to, you know, for free, basically as volunteers, put the time in to get things going. And I do thank you. I know it's just a lot to ask of people, but just then a quickie, if Dan would care to share, I'm just curious how long ago he lived in the valley, and just really quickly what the valley was like at that time, or how he sees it as having changed. Now, do I do something else to end my?
I just need to unmute myself, or you need to be able to read my lips. So I lived in the valley from 2002 until 2006. And then I moved into Bellingham because we had young children that seemed to have a lot of activities in Bellingham. And so at that point I lived out by gate 13 off of Western Lane, the first cul-de-sac on the right when you came in. And it was a lovely place to be. I really liked it a lot. My kids liked it. My wife liked it. But as I said, you know, for a variety of reasons, including that we were putting a lot of miles on our car, and I was working in town. And so we decided to move into Bellingham. I think it's gotten quite a bit bigger population wise than it was when I lived in Sudden Valley, but it was fairly significant then. I think it's also gotten an even larger proportion of full-time residents than it did back in the 2002 to 2006 timeframe. But there's some of the folks that I knew then are still in Sudden Valley, which is interesting. I think it says a lot to, you know, people do love the community. You know, there are some things that I see that, you know, I think the barn was still functioning as a place that people could do things when I was living here. And so I think that's one of the things that I've heard some folks express interest in seeing happen again. I know, you know, there's a lot of things that I want to look at with the other staff and hear about from the community and the board members and the like, for ideas about, you know, where do you think we could make some improvements, or what are some of the priorities you'd like to see? Because I think, you know, one of the things I really like about Sudden Valley is it's got such a breadth of opportunity. And I think that really helps create a more interesting community, because, you know, you've got a golf course, you've got a marina, you've got trails for mountain biking and hiking and all of that. And you've also got the pool and things like that, a number of situations that are helpful for families with young kids. So I think looking at all of those and seeing what we can do to add additional opportunities along those lines so that everyone, feels like they've got a connection, and collectively all of those things not only make the community more interesting and a better place, but they also help your house values and the like too, which is always helpful to make sure that your homes retain their value over time. And so I don't have, I'll have to take more time to get a fuller sense of what's changed, but it's bigger. There's a more diverse community, and I think there's more going on overall in Sudden Valley than used to be. And I think there's opportunities now to enhance it even more, because I think there is a population now and enough resources to do some things to improve things. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Gail. I'll go ahead and return you to the attendees.
Thank you.
And if anybody else would like to jump in, just use raise hand in Zoom and we'll bring you over to the meeting. Were there other questions in the chat?
There's one question, another question in the chat. And Dan wrote a message, but apparently it looks like it went to George. And I'm not sure if it went to everybody or not when George did it. I think hosts and panelists is just us in this group.
Mm-hmm.
Good catch, AJ. It was
select everyone. So I did copy paste that and resend it, which, Mac asked what his first priority was, and if all the operating staff will be reporting to Dan directly.
Want me to read what I wrote? I can just.
Sure.
Okay.
We did put our org chart out a number of meetings ago. And so the management team has staff directly under them that report to the department heads, and then the department heads report directly to Dan.
Right.
But I guess indirectly everybody reports to Dan in some capacity.
Right. It's very much like a lot of organizations. So for the most part, it'll be the department heads that interact with me directly, although I do intend to get out and talk to everybody, just because I like knowing what's going on and hearing from folks directly as well, and having them have the opportunity to post questions to me that, they feel are important for me to be aware of. Mac also asked about what my priorities are going to be. And I said that I need to do a fuller review before I commit to my top priority. But that I am, going to look at how we're doing some things and sort of try to make sure that things are aligned with best practices. I don't have any particular things I'm looking at. I am planning on doing a post-event review of the snow removal, just because I've talked to a lot of people, including Darren and some of the folks working on it. And there's some areas where we could do things better. And I think anytime you have an event like this, it's good to look at it and see what you can learn from it, so that going forward, we can make new mistakes instead of repeating them. And on top of that, I think that there's, as AJ mentioned when he was talking about me, and it's always a little bit both embarrassing and appreciated to hear people say how great you are. I hope to be able to live up to his kind words, but I do bring some relationships with folks in the community and beyond. And so one of the things that I want to do is kind of look around at sort of what some of the areas of issues or challenges or problems are within the Valley, see how they might be bigger than just our problems, and start making connections where we don't have them or strengthening where we do, to see what we can do to get support, both financial and otherwise, from the county, from the city of Bellingham, from the state, from the feds, as we're trying to address some of these problems in meaningful ways and in ways that address issues that, you know, the EPA want addressed, or Department of Ecology, or wildlife management, or whomever, so that all the costs of those improvements aren't just borne by Sudden Valley when the benefits go much beyond our borders. And so I think that's something that I want to pay some attention to. And that's just sort of a starting point. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, to expand Sudden Valley's influence and also get more help on some of the issues that are critical for us. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be looking at. But if people have ideas about things they think need attention, you can send them my way, or you can send them through a board member or any staff member. Thanks.
Looks like we do have a couple hands raised at this point. Carla had hers up first, so I'll go ahead and bring you over here, Carla. Go ahead and unmute when you're ready.
Hi, everybody. This is Carla Ward, and I'm at 201 Harborview Drive. And I've heard a number of references to Dan's background, but I don't really have a good sense of what your professional background is that prepares you for this work. So if you would be willing to share that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So, you know, first, my educational background is I have a bachelor's in urban and regional planning from Western Washington University. I've got a master's in public administration from Harvard. I worked for the state DOT managing a $500 million series of projects trying to address freight mobility challenges. And in the middle of managing that project, Initiative 695 passed, and I had to figure out how to retroactively fill in the $300 million hole in our $500 million budget, and was able to do that. I was the transportation director for the Skagit Council of Governments, where I coordinated large transportation projects that were interjurisdictional in their effect. So among the things that I was able to get done was funding for some improvements on Highway 20, which at the time had been one of the most dangerous roads in the state in terms of fatality levels. I worked for Pierce Transit as their community development director and oversaw the largest service expansion in their history, and it went off very well. I also did some work for the Port of Seattle as a strategic planning manager, helping them develop a new 100-year plan. And then I've also just done consulting on strategic management and related issues, sustainability issues. And I was mayor of Bellingham as well. And Bellingham is a strong mayor city. So I was mayor. I took office 3 days before the recession hit. And despite the impacts of the recession, we managed to get a bond rating upgrade during my tenure. And the city City of Bellingham has a survey done every 2 years by Western Washington University that Western runs. The city doesn't have input into it. We can ask them about some specific questions we'd like to see, but overall, you know, one of the things they track is how people feel about their government, and they felt better about the government at the end of my tenure, despite it having been a recession the whole time, than they did when I came into office. So that's some of my background, and honestly, that last, having people feel better about places after I've been there than before I came, is a goal. So I want to make things better when I leave than when I came in, and that's what I'm hoping to do here.
Thank you. That's very reassuring.
Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Carla. I'll go ahead and return you to the attendees. And we have Linda. I'm going to go ahead and bring Linda on over at this point. And go ahead and unmute when you're ready, Linda.
Hi, Linda Bradley, Division 27, Lot 82. I live up in Gate 5. I guess my question for Dan is I know he talks about working with staff, and there's this new position, the Deputy General Manager. And I wondered if you had sort of an idea of how your different responsibilities will be having a Deputy GM once you get them hired on, because I assume that's going to be one of your first vacancies you fill.
Yes, it will be. And so, you know, we're still talking about what that will look like, but I think that person will be an operations manager. He'll handle, or she'll handle more of the operational side, and I'll handle more of the larger picture side. But you know, I had a similar position work with me when I was at the city of Bellingham, and really what we did is we formed a team where either of us could do the other's job if somebody was gone for a bit too. And that's kind of how I view it as well, because there's actually a lot of work involved in running a city, and Sudden Valley may not be a city legally, but in for practical purposes, it is. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different aspects to managing it. If we do our job well, and by we, I mean all the staff and the board in terms of setting policies and then implementing things, it'll seem like we're not doing much of anything because things will just go well. And if we do them poorly, you're going to notice and be disappointed. And so my goal is for you to not think about what we do, but yes, it is important to have an operations manager, assistant deputy manager, assistant GM on board sooner rather than later, so that we can have that person help with what's going to be a really big load right now. And it's a load that has been carried by the board, by several members of the board specifically for the last several months. And they've done a great job, but it really needs consistent full-time attention, and that's what I'm going to bring to it. But I'll need help, and that's part of what this person will bring.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Linda. I'll go ahead and move you back here. And looks like we have a hand raised from Rob. Rob, I'll go ahead and bring you over to the meeting now, and go ahead and unmute when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. Rob Gibbs, 14 Far Summit Place. Dan, I want to welcome you to the team in Sudden Valley. I'm glad that you're going to be joining us. Sounds like you have a lot to offer, so thank you. I also liked hearing you say that you were looking to do an after-action review with the snow. I think that's probably on everybody's mind right now, and it sounds like you're really open to process improvement. I personally don't like to attack people. I think looking at processes is the way to go. With that, I also want to thank Darren and the rest of the managers where people have been out helping us and trying to keep the roads clear. Now, I really appreciate that people have been out since Christmas Eve or Christmas trying to help us. That's wonderful. One opportunity I think that we might want to look at is closing the loop when homeowners are concerned. I know there was a tree across Sandwick for several days, and there was concern about getting aid vehicles in there. I think a homeowner reached out to security, and unfortunately never heard back on what was going to happen. So I think what we see in the communication is reach out to security when there's a concern, and yet I know Darren's team's out, trying to get plow and whatnot, so we don't want them manning the phone, but it would be nice to have maybe be able to close that loop. So maybe just looking at closing the loop between when a concern's brought up and then when it might be resolved, or how it will be resolved.
Yeah. So one thing, Rob, that we had is the Pacific Security. We had to kind of shift how they report or how their calls were coming in. They had some struggles with someone getting here. And that message didn't get relayed over to Darren. So after we learned of that, we got in touch with Pacific Security, and we did make a post providing a new number to the community. And then we were able to get that resolved in a more expedited manner. But that is definitely something we intend to discuss with Pacific Security as part of our after action debriefing, because that was a bit of a challenge and a struggle.
Yeah, thanks for that. Sounds like you guys are already aware that it's a concern. And then just a question to the board, are we going to convene the Parks Trail Rec Committee this year? Some of the other committees, or do we see that they are no longer needed?
We're still in the process of getting all of that set up. We'll probably be dealing with that in the January meetings. The board was making a strong push to get the general manager on board, and that was kind of our top priority. And then a flooding event happened countywide, and now the snow event, and it's taken up some of our spare time that we would dedicate to some of that stuff. So yeah, I think, I would imagine the Parks and Trails Committee will be something that we would continue forward with likely, but the board will have that conversation here in January, and we can bring those charters forward to be voted on.
Looking forward to seeing that and working with you guys. Have a happy New Year.
Thank you. You too, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. All right, and I've moved you back to the attendees as well. Not seeing any further hands raised, but there is a question, I think, in chat.
So the text alert system is something we've kind of used sparingly. It does cost us money each time it is used. That's kind of the way the subscription works. As far as the e-blast is something we typically do weekly. As far as not all people have Facebook, we did not post our announcements to Facebook. They're all posted to Sun Valley's website, which, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I do believe that those announcements also push to our Facebook page as well.
Yeah, those should all push to Facebook.
So yeah, when the announcement posts on the website, it pushes as well. But we can evaluate the text message system a bit more in depth with Dan here and John as we move forward as well. Josh, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers for this, but I think there's a concern with the text messaging. Like if so much goes out, you're going to start losing the impact of an emergency text. So if we send a text out every time someone gets their car stuck or something like that, I'm sure someone else can speak more to this, but it's definitely something we need to look into. But I think that's one of the concerns as far as like sending so many texts out. How do we define emergency, et cetera?
So, one of the things that that a lot of people don't realize is that, we reevaluated, and working with John, we looked at how does the county report? How does the city of Bellingham report? And, how do other communities report? So there's been a little confusion of, I'm not sure why our members think that we should be held to a higher standard than any other organization in the middle of, a snow event where we've got, all hands on deck actually addressing those things and kind of health and safety issues, et cetera. We don't, some people want us to report on specific roads. Now, if we had closures, we would report on them, but we weren't having closures. What we have, and we have it currently, and we've had it since Christmas Day, is that all of the roads have hard ice packs. They're all treacherous. They all have the potential for you, if you go out on that road, for you to slide off into a ditch or culvert or into another vehicle. If you choose to go out, I would encourage you to put chains on your car at this point, because these low temperatures are keeping that ice hard. Or the snow hard. And then the more vehicles that go on it, the more packed it is, the slicker it is. And then with this shortage of sand, makes it more dangerous. All we can do is issue just a broad statement. We've asked people to stay home if possible. We know that people have to go to work or they have emergencies. And Darren and his crew actually got some help to deliver a new baby, basically, she needed to go to the hospital and have a baby. And, you know, so there's a lot of reasons that people can't stay home, and we understand that. But, you know, there's no, it makes no sense for us to spend a lot of staff time. It's very expensive to have someone to just constantly monitor every single road, one person, two people, however many. What we have found is that there are, you know, the community is so engaged that social media is a more, you know, more efficient means to report what is happening in those moments on each particular road, rather than expecting our staff to be able to do that in those moments. But one thing I do want to say is that if you have an issue or a concern, call security dispatch. They track those, they come to us, they're logged. So they'll have your name, they'll have your address, they'll have the information, and we see that. Dan will see that. Darren will see that. That's your best point of contact. I know Darren's probably gotten 100 phone calls a day. You know, it is difficult. He tries to respond to every member, but it would be better in a situation like this if you're stuck, if you're, you know, if their car is blocking the road, anything like that, a tree is down, call the security dispatch number.
We have had several instances over the past couple of weeks where miscommunications have happened. It's unfortunate, but unfortunately, it is something that does happen. I do try to respond as quickly as possible. There was a specific instance, and one of our attendees, Summer, will attest to this. There's a number of things that happen with so many people, so we have to cover. When allows 5 hours now, cover all that territory and beyond. It does make it limited, but in the event of an emergency, myself or any member of my crew can be anywhere in the valley within a certain time frame, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes end to end. So if it's an emergency, yes, contact the dispatch. Like Sonia had said, it is a centralized location to where all the information can be just put there and where it needs to be.
I'm not sure if everybody's aware of it, but there is a group that's been started, Sudden Valley Roads, and I think
it's wonderful.
They're really trying to get people to put information in that, and instead of asking the question, go and look on that website, go on that Facebook page, and I think the more people that put input into that is super helpful for the community.
I agree, and she's done a really good job of keeping it current, and it's delineated by the gate, and then she also by Lake Whatcom Boulevard, the road to Alger, and then also Lake Louise Road. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm surprised that it's very efficient. I agree with you, Timmy. Thanks for mentioning that.
All right. Do we have any more property owner comments?
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
There is actually a hand that just came up from Gail. Let's go ahead and bring Gail back over one more time here. Go ahead and unmute when you're ready, Gail.
Yeah, I'm ready. And by the way, I'm Gail Chiarello, 16 Inlet Circle, Gate 1. I forgot the formalities. I just wanted to give the security dispatch number because, during the snow time, it's been really, as everyone knows, difficult to find things. And I didn't know that there was a special number. So I'll just read it because I have a note here on my computer that it's 360-715-2449 for emergencies. So I had called a different number for maintenance. And of course, I didn't have an emergency. So it's not personal, but I just thought we'd get the number out there. It's so hard right now to get communication flowing. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get your hand up.
I have an announcement. I didn't want, Joel may have wanted to do this, but due to the inclement weather and a lot of people, this kind of started before the Christmas holidays. We've had to close the clubhouse, number one, because of, the water remediation. And then now we were hit before they were planning to come back this week and then couldn't get in because of the snow. So the board has waived the late fees and interest for the month of December, if you haven't paid your dues yet. So don't stress and go down to the clubhouse.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Sonia. I know an e-blast was posted yesterday, but thanks for repeating that.
Any other property owners like to chime in?
Not seeing it anymore at this point.
Nope, me neither. So I guess we'll move to adjournment. I'd just like to thank the management team and the board and the community, or thank the management team and the board for all the hard work that they've done to get to the point where we brought Dan on, and the management team for helping continue to keep smooth operations going in the absence of an official GM. I'd like to thank the community for their patience and allowing us to go through the process. It does take some time, and we are very happy to have Dan on board and beginning. And we'd like to thank Dan as well for agreeing to serve in this capacity. And I think I speak for everyone when I say we all look forward to working with you moving forward. I will get an announcement posted to the website with John here to announce Dan as the GM officially on the website. And yeah, I think it's about all that I have to say.
Welcome, Dan. Good night, everybody. Happy holidays.
Welcome, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks all of you for your part in this.
Sorry, welcome, Dan. I wasn't expecting a parade of welcomes here, and I just jumped into adjourn because Kim said goodnight. I'm so awful.
I think I'll survive, but thank you.
I do want to say I'm really thrilled that you are joining us. It's been a grind for some of us, and I think it's well worth it. And I'm excited. I think you're going to bridge the gap between a lot of people here and patch some things over. And it's inspiring. This whole process has been, and yeah, thanks.
No, thanks all of you. I'm excited to work with all of you. I think that's, as I said, I think it's an amazing community, and I'm glad to be able to help out.
I believe Sam may want to chime in here as well.
Yes, I've got something to say about the board. I'm short-term member on the board. What I've seen behind the scenes and what I've seen the work at the board that's been in place doing, and the executive committee, I'm blown away. Their professionalism, the things they know about all the back story things and the things they've been put through, and AJ, the effort he's put in. I'm impressed. I'm thrilled. I would like to tell everybody in Sudden Valley they have quite a great team. Not me so much. I'm still learning, but for the rest of them, they are really impressive. I'm impressed with a bunch of them, and welcome aboard, Dan Pike.
Thank you.
Sam, I'm going to run over your house right now and give you a big old hug.
I know. I felt the same way.
All right. Well, that is the conclusion of our meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Everyone have a good night.